Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Today the topic of our lecture is planning. Some of the outline for today lectures. First of all, we have planning, and then some components of planning, which include mission, objectives, strategies, policies, procedures, programs, and budgets. First of all, what is planning? Planning involves selecting mission and goals and deciding on the action to achieve them. This means any activity in which we select our mission and goals and objective, and then how we will achieve our goal and objective is said to be planning. Now, while making plans, goals and objective, we formulate or we make objective in three different levels. For example, lower level objective is usually formulated by a lower level manager. Departmental level objective are basically formulated by middle level manager, while missions, visions, and overall organization plans are developed by top level managers, by corporate governors, by board of directors. Planning requires decision making, that is choosing a course of action from among alternatives. This means in planning we have number of alternatives, for example alternative A, B, C and so on, and we have to decide and we have to choose among them. Now, planning bridges the gaps from where we are and where we want to go. This means that in planning there is a current situation or existing situation, and one is the desired future state. One is current state and one is future state. In planning, we wish to move from present state to some desired future state. So that is mentioned here, that it bridges the gap from where we are and where we want to go. Now, planning includes missions, planning includes objective, strategies, policies, procedures, rules, programs, and budgets. First of all, mission. Mission is basically the purpose of existence of any organization or department. So for any organization to exist, it must have a mission, it must have a purpose, or it must have a goal. The mission identifies the basic function of organization. This means that on the basis of function, we create different types of organization. Let's say, for example, the purpose of university is teaching, research, and providing services to the community. Similarly, the purpose of a state highway department is designing, building, and operating a system of state highways. For example, the purpose of police department is to provide safety to the general public, and the purpose of business is to create goods and services. So This means that for every organization there is a function, there is a goal, or there is a purpose. Now, next we have objectives. Objectives are basically the ends toward which activity is aimed. Objective should be verifiable. It means that at the end of the period, we should know that whether or not our objectives are achieved. For example, our objective is to produce, our objective of a university is to produce 1000 students per year. So, in this case, it is verifiable, because if a university produce 1000 at the end of the year, so that university is effective. If it could not produce 1000 students, so it is not effective. This means that this objective is verifiable. Yet another criteria for objective is that that objective should be achievable as well. For example, for a small university, producing 1000 units may not be achievable, but for a large university, some university can produce 1000 students per year. So for such university it is achievable, but for other small university the same objective may not be achievable. Now, overall objective should be supported by sub-objectives. Now, this means that overall organization have a major objective that is divided into sub-objectives. For example, in organization, if a university says, for example, that we wish to produce 1000 students per year, so in that case 1000 is overall objective of the university. Then, for example, that university has a number of departments. So in those departments, for example, pharmacy department says that we have to produce, for example, 150 students per year. Similarly, for example, Institute of Business Studies is that we have to produce 100 students. Similarly, computing department. Similarly, for example, physics department, and so on. So these 100 students for IBS is our sub-objective. Our main objective is 1000 students. Now it is divided into sub-objective, that is departmental objective. When those departmental objectives are achieved, our main objective, that is 1000 students, would be automatically achieved. Now next we have strategies. Strategy is basically the determination of long-term objectives. Now it means that first we have to determine our long-term objective for our organization, and secondly we have to adopt a course of action and allocation of resources necessary to achieve these goals. Now, so in this definition, in this strategy, we have first to select, or we have to determine, or to identify our long-term objective, that what we are going to achieve in next 5 to 10 years for our organization. And then secondly, we have to adopt different courses of action and allocation of resources to achieve these goal and objective. Now this is something that makes our strategy. So first of all, we have to identify our objective. In second phase, we have to identify a course of action to achieve these goals or objective, and we have also identified all those resources which may be required, which are required actually, to achieve these goals. Next we have policies. Policies are general statements. Our policies are also plans and general statement that guides or channel thinking in decision making. This means that policies help us in our decision making. Policies are basically implied from the actions of managers. What managers actually do, they help us to understand the policy of an organization. For example, human resource management. Human resource manager says that, or actually, they promote from within organization. So when they take this decision, it helps us to understand that their policy is that they promote or they develop their own employees for the organization rather than they select from outside sources. Policies are meant to guide decision making by identifying the area in which manager can use their discretion. This means that in policy we have certain discretion. Manager can use their discretion to take certain decision. While in some cases, for example, in next cases we may be discussing rules. In rules, there is no discretion at all for the manager. But here in policies, we can use, or manager can use their discretions in decision making. Policy define an area in which a decision is to be made and ensure that decision will be consistent and contribute to our objectives. This means that it should be consistent and it must contribute to the objective of organization. In organization, manager should not take such decision which is not consistent to the organization objective. Here, as we have already discussed, example include policy of hiring only university trained engineer and promoting from within. So we have already discussed this example. So we move to next slide, that is procedures. Procedure are plans that establish a required method of handling future activities. They are chronological sequence of required action. Now, it needs a bit explanation here. In policy, we discuss that, for example, the policy is that we have to promote from within or we have to hire from within organization. Now, it is to be explained by the procedure that how an employee be selected or how employee be promoted from within organization. So actually we would then require a procedure that could explain or that could chronologically explain that how a required action, that is promoting from within, be done within organization. It explains in detail the exact manner in which certain activity must be accomplished. Now it is clear from this statement that it explains in detail. For example, the policy is from promoting from within organization. Now procedure would explain that how we can promote from within organization. Here example is, in organization outline 3 steps for performance appraisal. In human resource management, one of the main human resource management practices performance appraisal. Now, how procedure explain it? First of all, the procedure is setting performance objective. First of all, we have to select our objectives for the organization, and on the basis of organization objective we have to select departmental objectives, and then on the basis of departmental objective we have to select individual objectives. Secondly, performing a mid-year review of the objectives. Secondly, we would review our mid-year review of our objectives, and finally conducting a performance discussion at the end of the period. After conducting a review, we must have a discussion session with our employees. Now, next we have rules. Rules spell out specific required action, allowing no discretion, as earlier explained in our procedure section, in our policy section, that policy did provide some discretion to managers in decision making, but rules provide no discretion at all. Here example is, for example, no cheating is a rule that allows no deviation from a stated course of action. Now, it reflects a manager decision that a certain action must or must not be taken. For example, we have a rule that cheating is not allowed, or no cheating, or zero tolerance for cheating. So in this case, it allows no discretion for faculty member to allow anyone to cheat in examination hall. Rule allow no discretion in their applications. So once again, it is mentioned here that nobody is allowed to disobey the rules. Next, we have programs. Programs are a complex of goals, procedures, rules, task, assignment, resources to be employed, and other important elements necessary to carry out given course of action. Now, this means that it encompasses almost all the existing elements, that is goal, procedure, rules and tasks, and necessary resources to achieve our goal and objective. Remember that they may be as major as 5-year program to improve the status and quality of its thousands of supervisors or managers. So it means that it can be as comprehensive, or it can be as major as a 5-year program to improve the quality, or to improve the quality of its thousand supervisors. Or in second case, it may be as minor as a program formulated by a single manager to improve the motivation level of workers. In next, we have a budget. A budget is a statement of expected result expressed in numerical terms. Now, here it is also called a quantified plan. When it is expressed in numerical terms, so it also means that it is a quantified plan. Now, it would be something that is measurable, that is quantity. For example, the financial operating budget is often called a profit plan. A budget is expressed, as earlier mentioned, in numerical terms. In terms of labor hours, that is quantity. Number of units produced is also once again quantity. Number of machine hours, and or in any other numerical measurable terms. So all these are in numerical terms and quantitative in nature. Remember that the budget is the fundamental instrument of planning, or it is a fundamental instrument in many organizations for the planning. Although it may be considered in controlling, but while formulating a plan, it is considered as a planning phase. This was all about today's lecture. If you people have any questions regarding planning and its different types, you people are most welcome to ask. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.